Hello everyone and welcome to the latest edition of This Racing Life. The flat season well underway, we know that by now. What you might not know is that Lir Speciale, the racing TV syndicate horse in conjunction with Raceshare, is finally ready to start his campaign. And members of Racing TV have come down in their droves to see him on the gallops and answer questions from Stuart Williams, the trainer. Later on, we'll be heading out from Diomed Stables up and down the Hamilton Road to catch up with a couple of trainers who you might have thought have been around for a little bit longer than they actually have. Here's what's coming up.
Really looking forward to it because obviously, like I say, it's the first time I've ever done anything like this. I wasn't sure what kind of access we would get, how close we'd be to the horses.
So basically William Haggis, it took him 9 years to do it, and he sort of set me the challenge after about 2 years of training. So I was like, I am going to beat him.
Shane Murphy's been massive. Any time I've felt I've maybe done something wrong, I've been able to ring him up after racing and ask his opinion on things.
Hopefully she can win that Group 1 over here. That would just be really good for her and the owners and Henry.
He ran in Dubai in the combination of owners, and then all of a sudden he's in the yard, and yeah, it's now you know what you want.
So welcome to Diomed Stables, everyone. We've got a beautiful day to visit the Heath. It's not always like this out here, but we're very pleased to see everyone here. And Lorenzo is with Lir Speciale. As you can see, he's in very good form at the moment. He looks really well. I'm very happy with his condition. He's been training well at home, and hopefully he's going to have his first race for us at the end of next week.
The season ahead for Lir Speciale, what do you think sort of the optimum conditions for him will be?
Well, I'm hoping it's 6 furlongs on fast ground on turf.
Right. So this sunshine's good.
So yes. So hopefully high-grade handicaps on turf through the summer, and he can run plenty of times. There's plenty of them about at the nice big meetings.
Is Royal Ascot in the plans?
Well, we'll see what happens. It's coming up fairly quickly. So if he ran really well next week, we've got to think about making the entry. It's the early entry race. The race that he could run in Ascot is the Wokingham. That's basically the only race available to him. It is, yeah. And it's an early entry race, so we'd have to think about making that entry the following week. So that's the decision we have to make at that time. That's him going up there now, moving nicely. You know, it's exactly what I want to see. The horse is enjoying himself.
I think Raceshare as an outfit really do provide the owners with a lot of information daily and indeed weekly, and I help provide that information. That's my role. We do a monthly show, I do a monthly blog, I do a weekly video. Obviously come to, as you can see, as I am today, the stable visits that Raceshare offer, and given the nature of my job, I'm regularly racing when Raceshare horses are running. So obviously on race days I'm involved. We had Scampi run, for example, at the Ebor, in the Ebor last year, and William Darby and the team at York were amazing and gave a bar for Raceshare owners. But I'm heavily involved, and I'm really proud to be involved in it. I think Raceshare have in a very quick space of time established themselves as a real force in that sort of space of sort of micro share ownership, if you like. You realise you're part of a growing community, and that is ultimately what I love about racing. I think there is a community feel to it, and when you see people engage in that, it's ultimately why I love the sport.
We applied for the tickets, and this is my first time doing a stable visit, so I wasn't sure if I would get the tickets, and I just thought we'll apply and see if we get in. Luckily it looks like everyone did get to come, and I was really looking forward to it because obviously, like I say, it's the first time I've ever done anything like this. I wasn't sure what kind of access we would get, how close we'd be to the horses, so it's been amazing that you can actually go right up, touch the horses. Everyone's been so accommodating. Stuart's obviously told us all about him, and yeah, it's just been fantastic.
I've been to other stable visits where you can't go here, you can't go there. With this, it's been all access. You've been able to touch the horses, which other stables say you can't. So it's been great.
Given that Stuart Williams is a very hands-on trainer, and given that Ollie Bell's involved as well, it means we're getting lots and lots of updates and information. And we're also, because a lot of people here aren't horse people, we're getting educated, and I think that's really important.
I do think it's important that we get people can get close to the horses. I think the same at races. If there's a race meeting where the people can get close to the action and close to the horses, they're the stars of the show, the horses. And I think it's very important that happens, and it's great that we were able to do this on a day like today.
These gallops have been home to Stuart Williams and a lot of other trainers on the Hamilton Road for the better part of 20 years. He's enjoying his 20th season of training. Well, someone who's only had 5 years, although it feels like a lot longer, is George Boughey, who moved to the Hamilton Road to set up licence back in 2019 and already a classic winner in his own right. It was 2 years ago, very much a breakout year. He matched it in terms of quality and almost prize money last year, and he's set for a profitable campaign ahead.
We had 9 stakes winners last year, and we'll look to try and do the same again this year. We had notably less runners last year with the same amount of horses. They just don't take their racing as much. Our best horse last year ran a handful of times, and the lower the grade a horse, possibly the more you can run them. The better horses kind of map themselves out. So, no, I'm very proud that we trained 100 winners 2 years ago, and then again last year. It was getting a bit close late on, but we'll look to try and do that again this year. And I think having that number of winners enables you to try and find that better type of horse. So, yeah, we'll keep trying to find those numbers.
Do you have an archetypal George Boughey horse? One that you'd look at and be like, yeah, this is my type. I really feel like you do.
No, they're all shapes and sizes, from sort of 5 furlong to 2 milers really. But I was pretty keen to keep it that way. Like, I'd love to train mile 10 furlong horses. That's what we want. But they are the most expensive international type of horse, really. And I think when I started, it was trying to have winners, like whether it be 2-year-olds, whether it be older horses. I was very top heavy on older horses against 2-year-olds, and then we did get some 2-year-olds, and it was all about speed and trying to make an impact. And my view was, if I bought horses that wanted 10, 12 furlongs, I'd have been forgotten about before I was known. Yeah. And so people probably I think we'd had 16 winners before Royal Ascot in my second year or something. It was very much that was what we wanted to do, and I'm trying to get away from it a little bit. I think we've had 6 or 7 2-year-olds who finished second, which is frustrating, but it's rather, I think, when the maiden system and straight into handicaps changed to the novice system, it lends better to getting beat on debut. Obviously one when they go and win by 5, but I haven't had many win by 5 on debut, so I'd rather they ran well. Like a nice filly called Night in Paris, she got beaten a nose against the Colts. She's now a winner without a penalty, basically. Sure. And she should, unless I run her in the Lily Agnes, go and win wherever she goes. Otherwise, you'd have a £7 penalty, and life is harder. But yeah, I don't really have a type of horse. I just, as long as they're fast, don't mind what they are. We go to every sale, and we're trying to, buying and selling at every sale, and the turnover of horses here is huge. But that's what we want. Padiki was a prime example of a horse who, if we had been incredibly selective as to what came in the yard, we wouldn't have taken her. She was an unassuming filly who had already had a wind-up by, unfortunately, out of a mare who cost a couple of grand, and she nearly won an Abbey last year. She was second and probably was long odds on in running and just didn't quite get the job done. But we'd take everything in and assess them and work out where we are. It's sort of always been my way.
When you started out, you weren't a stranger to being in charge of horses. You looked after a select band of horses for your old boss, Hugo Palmer, on this very road. It is different, though, when suddenly there's nothing to fall back on and it's just you. What was the biggest learning curve in those early days for you?
Look, I think the main thing is having the confidence to go and run a horse in your own name. And I think anyone who starts training, you are nervous that whether it's ready or not. We took the whole yard to Bath on the first day we had a runner, and 2 of them possibly were unlucky losers. And yeah, I think it's actually going and putting the practice out there on the track. We are very spoiled. I don't take it for granted how lucky we are, the gallops that we have. I think almost even more so over my side, you know, on the Hamilton Road side. Like the grass over there is amazing. Like I do also think that Cachet won the Guineas because of where I train. You know, she would have done
Interesting.
30 bits of work through the dip at Newmarket.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it's a very hard place to win, but we do have a higher strike rate than probably expected. We'll have more winners at the Rowley Mile, certainly, because it's
like second nature.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you see the trainers who train near Wolverhampton, who gallop at Wolverhampton, who train winners at Wolverhampton. You know, like, it's no surprise that there was a Dave Lochnan 2-year-old who'd been around Wolverhampton 3 or 4 times or something, and it bolted up on debut. Because you know it so well that Cachet was ahead of her generation. She was a forward-going horse on a front runner's track with a slight tailwind and knew every blade of grass.
I think we forget, how many seasons are you into training now?
I think it's my 5th season now, yeah.
I said to you earlier, it feels like the better part of a decade, but it very much does. I mean, your rise was so quick. Did you ever worry too quick?
Possibly at times. You know, the big thing is having the right people in the right places, and my job has changed dramatically in the last probably 24 months. You know, we have a different type of owner now who requires a different type of treatment, and you know, the horses are changing a lot, and it's having everyone on the right. I was saying to you earlier, I'd love to have a yard where we had all the horses in one place, but that's not possible in Newmarket. It's one thing that did surprise me was how few yards there are with 3-figure number of stables in Newmarket, and certainly those that are available to train from. But yeah, I have never worried. I've always wanted to train a lot of horses. I wanted to train a lot of winners, and you can't do that with a small number of horses, so delighted where we are. I've got 2 more tracks to have a winner out in the country. I need to get a winner at Wetherby and York.
Wetherby, you wouldn't be alone.
It's hard. So basically William Haggis, it took him 9 years to do it, and he sort of set me the challenge after about 2 years of training. So I was like, I am going to beat him.
It's not like you've only been here, you have been elsewhere, you with Gay Waterhouse in Australia. Do you look at what someone like a Gay Waterhouse is achieving down there and thinking, is there anything I can implement in here that maybe other people might not be so inclined to do, a traditional British trainer, but there are things you can pick and choose from different jurisdictions?
I think the running of our horses is quite similar to how they do in Australia, and I'm not afraid to run them. You know, I
back them up.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've had a lot of horses. I think we've had 3 or 4 horses who've won 3 or 4 in 2 weeks, and it's not that it's not been done before, but it's a bit different. But my view is they're certainly not winning any prize money in their box, and some of them thrive off it. There was a filly called Drew Fontaine who, when I first went to work for Gay, who I think ran 7 weekends on the spin, and across certainly 2 states, it might have been 3, and I was in awe of it, amazed, and I don't think I've done 7 on the spin yet, but we'll hopefully find one that we can soon.
Well, I think last summer you had I think it was a gelding at Leicester who ran back-to-back days. Yeah,
there was a bit of a plan there, and he had an overnight stay, and he won both of them. So I think he won much more convincingly the second day.
He did, yeah.
It's a bit of a puzzle, isn't it? Those sort of things. I enjoy it, and Padika was a great example of that. She thrived off racing. You know,
I think she had 17 starts from September of her 2-year-old career to June of her 3-year-old. She then took her off for 74 days and then began the campaign, and as you say, second in an Abbey.
Yeah, she was tough. She ran over a number of trips in Dubai. I didn't expect her to scale the heights she did. She won a couple of stakes races, Group 1 placed, but she just kept thriving. We'd chuck her out in the paddock here, and she loved it, and we'd just go again the next week. She got on a plane, you know, boat to France, and would run straight off the back of it. She came off the plane to Dubai and ran 7 or 8 days later, and 2 of those were travelling, so she just loved it.
The way you talk about your horses, the way you, the language you use to express it, it very much seems like you are, like a lot of us, a student of the game. I think you love the challenge of trying to get into a horse's mind in particular, but you're not afraid to try something a little bit new.
I'm very lucky in the sense that my owners support my ideas, and It's been a difficult spring, there's no two ways about that, but I do feel like I have the support of my owners and to do things a little bit different. If I didn't have the trust in them to do that, I wouldn't be able to, and there have been a lot of horses who have superseded what I thought we might be able to do by doing something a little bit different. Believing going to Hong Kong was a little bit different. I think 9 inches of rain was also a bit different. She went there for fast ground and didn't get it, but no, I'm very lucky in that sense. I have a plan with every horse, as probably every trainer does, but most of my owners just say, yeah, absolutely, that sounds good, sounds good. They spend so much of their days in their box. You know, like I was here yesterday all Sunday nearly turning horses out. You know, I'd put them out, bring them in, put them out, bring them in, you know, trying to get as many of them with a bit of sun on their back as we could. It's got to be helpful, you know, like horses. Yeah. I'd love to have horses, I'd love to have more horses turned out. Oh, little Novello.
Someone who's been a big part of the team these days, Billy Lochnan. How he's still only 18 is also a mystery. He had an unbelievable year last year, which coincided with a great year for you.
Billy's a star. I was telling you the story of how we sort of first got put in touch, and it was Mark, his dad, at the sales at Newmarket, and he said, slightly sort of trying to sell his son, and you always think, oh God, what have we got here? And he said, I think he's a good kid, you know, I think he rides all right. Obviously knew he was good.
What an undersell.
Yeah, but that's very Mark. He's very sort of unassuming and hard-working guy who's obviously, you know, the pair of them, Billy and his mum, you know, they've done an amazing job bringing him up to be the gentleman that he is, and also a brilliant rider, and he's a huge part of our team.
What a first season it was. I can't recall a jockey in their first proper season riding 130 winners.
It was a dream start. I mean, I definitely didn't expect it to go the way it has gone. I started off brilliantly in January, and then took a bit of time to go to America from there, and when I came back it just went from strength to strength. I mean, rode in the 1,000 guineas last year for Richard Spencer, and it was a dream come true last year to be able to lift the Champion Apprentice trophy at Ascot.
Who's been the biggest help in the weighing room?
There's so many names that have helped me out across the board, but probably towards the end of the season and a lot this year, Shane Murphy's been massive. Anytime I've felt I've maybe done something wrong, I've been able to ring him up after racing and ask his opinion on things. But look, there's millions of jockeys that have helped me across the way, too many to name really.
I think as racing fans, we're all pretty demanding of young jockeys, especially ones that have meteoric rises. But we're also quite sceptical a lot of the time of, there's no way he can back up what he achieved in his first season. You're proving everyone wrong, bit by bit. I mean, you're on 45 winners, including your international ones, and we've barely even hit the grass season proper.
Yeah, I was keen to stay around last winter and try and keep building up my connections that I had and made through last year, and I was looking forward to the season coming. I set myself a target of I want to get 100 winners again in England, and I want to try and sort of get on the board with some pattern races, and thankfully they're ticked off the list so far. Obviously not, you want to keep getting more and more, but I was just happy if I managed to get one listed winner, and thankfully that's ticked off, and all systems go for a big turf season.
Are you hard on yourself?
Yeah, I went through a phase there last week where I had I think I had 13 seconds in a week and no winner, and I mean it's tough mentally, and I'm not a very happy person when I don't come home racing from a winner, but no, I don't think if you're not hard on yourself, you won't improve.
It'd be worrying if you were happy with those seconds.
Exactly. I mean, George has had a lot of seconds this year as well, and there was a stage there last month where everything we ran just seemed to finish second, but thankfully they're starting to run a bit better now.
Starting out training is always a tricky business, a potential logistical nightmare without the added rigours of starting in the pandemic year. But that didn't dissuade Alice Haynes. Very little would dissuade her. She banged in 20 winners in that opening year, and she has improved on quality and quantity as the seasons have gone by.
I think this year is a massive year for all of us. You know, we've got to excel on last year and not be like, oh, this bit of a fluke, etc. I think this year is where the screw has to be tightened, and we really have to get the best out of the team, best out of the horses, to not be letting anything go around the way, so not be disappointed. You know, I'm quite a driving person and like to keep head up and standards up, and but we've got to keep on getting better.
Are you good at handling disappointment? I guess you'd have to be to some extent.
Yeah. Like I listened to a couple of things Richard Hannon once said. He said about having a horse, if nothing's in the shop window, you can't sell anything. And the other one, it was about you've got to sell the dream and provide the disappointment, which is true. And I've got better in providing the disappointment, because that's always something. But I've had high expectations of the horses and myself. Horses won't be going to Windsor if I don't think they've got a good chance, and that's where it is of disappointment. Then you've got to go, why is it disappointing? And that's scrutiny on yourself and the horses and what went wrong, and that is then reflecting back to move forward. Was
it always going to be Newmarket when you took out a licence?
I think so. When I was at McShannon's and Henrietta Knight's, I never thought I'd want to be in Newmarket. It was always sort of such a bad place to have talked about. But I went to Australia and I started at David Simcox, and it's sort of who you hang around with and who you're with, as opposed to, Newmarket's the heart of racing.
So you've mentioned 3 iconic names there in terms of racehorse trainers: Henrietta Knight, Mick Channon, and David Simcox. Yeah, so different, all of them. What were the bits that you took from each of them? When I say those names, what immediately springs to mind?
Henrietta Knight, every horse is different. Like, you treat everyone as its own. You know, she's such a horsewoman, and that's what I learned greatly from her. Of every horse is its own, and you've got to try and get inside that horse's mind. And they don't all want to do the same exercise. They don't all have the same equipment. All that transpired into what I do now. And then she sent me off to Mick Shannon's, where tough love would probably be the very strong word which comes to that. So it's tough love. Like, in one sentence, you as a person, you could be called be sworn at, and by the end of the sentence you're a blossom, or vice versa. And then with horses, it's also tough. It is also tough love. You know, they're there to do a job at the end of the day. And I think the thoroughbred itself has become softer in itself physically, but you have to make them tougher.
And David Simcox, when you made the move here?
Fantastic, brilliant mentor. Even now, you could call him and he'd help you, even if you about a horse, or how to deal with, an owner, or just help in general. And I was fortunate enough to ride as a bad apprentice, I'm sure David would say, for him, and rode 11 winners. And it's the day I decided I want to get a conditional licence as well. He was like, she just did it to keep me quiet. And no, I really enjoyed my time there. And he's obviously a very patient man with his horses, and he loves a 3-year-old. And it's not, I train a lot of 2-year-olds now, and we're waiting to build that on to have lovely 3-year-olds. That's the way I see it. Do you enjoy that element of trying to map out a race, how you'll see it and when it comes off? Yeah, definitely. And got Charlie in the office who helps sort of reform also. But I do enjoy that and when you're looking at a race and going, oh yeah, that's exactly how I thought it would go. Do you do pace maps? Yeah. Yeah? Yeah. Do pace maps. We do a lot of that, of trying to get the horse in the best possible position to get the best result. What do you think you're good at delegating, and what do you find hard to let go of? It's the micromanagement of everything. I want to oversee everything, which is impossible. And he looks at the likes of Aidan O'Brien, which he wants to do the same, and he does it on a bigger scale than I do. Letting go. I haven't let go of anything yet. Well, speaking of Aidan O'Brien and letting go, that's pertinent to a new acquisition in the yard as well. Yeah, Cairo, we've been fortunate enough, I think he'll be a yard bearer for the year. We've been fortunate enough that an owner, Rafael Al-Gabari, has bought. He's been a successful owner so far for us. He's first time he's had horses in England a couple of years ago, and with me, and he's now got 4. And Cairo being one of them, which is he'll go probably straight to Royal Ascot, and then he's going to have a fantastic, might go to Saratoga. He's going to have a really good campaign, and it's really exciting to have maybe a flag bearer of that respect, for spending that much money on a horse to be trusted with it. And he's rated 111, and he's definitely going to be a yardstick. Was that a rush when you got that phone call? So they'd spoken about buying him for a while, and I was just a bit like, okay, until it happens. And then all of a sudden, you know, you've got to pass a vet. He ran in Dubai in the combination of owners, and then all of a sudden he's in the yard. And yeah, it's now you know what you want for the future of getting a few of them like that. And it's exciting, but we'll take baby steps at a time and hopefully try and, I don't think it's possible to improve one out of Aiden's, but try and do really well with him, and then to use him to then hopefully help us progress on to get that better, nice horse.
Australian sprinters coming to Royal Ascot is no new business, and they've been very successful in it. Takeover Target, Nature Strip, to name just a couple in recent years. Well, the latest one is Asfura, the 5-year-old mare, is coming over to finally bag a 5-furlong Group 1. She's not just looking at Royal Ascot, however. There are engagements further afield and even more audacious than her predecessors.
To be sent across the world with one horse, and for Henry and the owners to entrust me, it would mean the world. Like, I've travelled with a lot of good horses within Australia, but I think even if she doesn't win a race over here, it'll still be the highlight of my career, and she'll probably be the highlight of my career, because it's just a once in a lifetime opportunity, and to have, you know, people backing you that trust you, it means the world.
And you're here with an open-ended ticket, really. It could be a long stint here for you.
Yeah, so depending on how she goes, I think that to start off with 4 months here, and then it could be anywhere after that.
Well, I've heard Breeders' Cup mentioned, which for an Australian horse, that's no mean feat. It's very difficult to travel a horse from that side of the world all the way over.
Yeah, it is, but we're halfway there, so I think, and she's travelled great. So even though there's a few races, like, they're not close together, so I think she's got that time to sort of, you know, really get over them and go fresh up each time and be good as gold, hopefully.
And great to have a base such as Amy Murphy's to slot into. They must have been extremely welcoming.
Oh, they've been nothing but helpful. Like Amy and Lemos, there's not much more that they can do for us. Like, Lemos has obviously galloped her. That we go out with the pony each morning, which is Amy's. Yeah, it's like being at home. We're really grateful.
We're ticking round to the first of a few big days, hopefully, the Temple Stakes. What do the next couple of weeks look like for her?
So I think she's having a good gallop on Tuesday morning, and then Mitch Aiken and Henry will be over here. I think they fly out of Australia Friday, so I think they will obviously have another good gallop probably the week going in to the Haydock. But she is quite fit. Like, she only ran probably 6 weeks ago in Australia. Even though she's not done much since that race, she's quite a fit mare anyway, so you don't really have to do too much with her to get her up and going.
Well, I mean, she has won a fair share of prizes as well. Were you there for her win in the Scalacci? Yeah,
I was. I reckon that's probably my favourite win. I think just that match between her and Uncommon James, I think it's just, like for her, I think it's her highlight, and definitely my highlight. There was a lot of talk and a lot of media going into it, because obviously Uncommon James is a Group 1 winner, and she's lucky not to be a Group 1 winner. But I sort of thought from the get-go, like, he wasn't going to beat her.
What have other Australian racing fans made of the trip over? Have you spoken to anyone, and are they sending on their well wishes?
Yeah, I've seen a bit of media and whatnot, and everyone's saying that she's looking $1 million, and everyone's excited. So she does look very good, and I'm just as excited as them. So just hopefully she can win that Group 1 over here. That would just be really good for her and the owners and Henry.
So the curtain comes down on a wonderful day here at Stuart Williams' Diomed Stables. We've been here to see Lir Speciale, and we've seen him do a lot. We saw him on the gallop, and now he's having a well-deserved feed and a bit of fuss. Well, I'll leave him in peace. Thank you very much to George Boughey and Alice Haynes as well for opening their doors this week, and Asfura, great to see that race mare as well in her quest to win a Group 1 in the Northern Hemisphere. We will see you again next time.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.